o'clock, May 12th, 2015. We're going to open the Township Water Authority regular monthly meeting. We're going to start our being taped for accuracy. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call.
Marty Rosenfeld.
Here.
Jeremy Murphy's excused. Wade Birdie.
Here.
Rich Byler's excused. And Anita Johnston here.
Okay, visitors' comments.
Yeah, I just have one for the committee for the as well. We just need approval of the board to check out some different obligations for the water board. You know, different hookups and different things. We just need the okay from the water authority just to go and look at these to see what the best thing to put down as a backup. So we need this the okay through the water authority, otherwise we can't do anything else.
No. I'm on board with, what you have to do.
And Joe knows about it. You know, it's just 3 or 4 things we're looking at, but we've got to get something on paper to put in with the, to say what we're going to do in case of an emergency, where we're going to go.
Okay.
So I just need the board's approval.
Are you talking about the emergency response
Yes,
plan?
yes.
Okay.
We need to-
Jeremy already has that.
Well, we need a place to go for backup water and different things like that. We don't have that in the response plan. That just shows you the response plan, just shows you who to call and blah, 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 but it doesn't give you no backups.
So what do you want?
Yeah,
The
backup.
emergency response plan changed?
No, we need a backup.
I think he's talking about the contingency.
Yeah, the contingency plan on it, we have to stick with the back of the ordinance once we get it done. We have to get that done.
What did you have in mind as far as?
Well, we have the whole well in Penfield, we're going to look into it. And as far as I know, they're still testing. Has to be tested every month or something like that. Make sure it's not polluted. The way I understand right now, it's still the same way it was before. In case of emergency, they could hook it back up and at least made it run Penfield. If it's something emergency would happen. You know what I mean? That's just one of them. So we're just looking at different things.
What are the others?
Maybe going into the wells full of salt by the watershed. There's plenty of water there, and even though you couldn't drink it, you could at least maybe bathe with it, use it in the showers, whatever. We don't know. We don't until we look into it.
That's a huge permitting
Yeah.
process. We've looked into that also for, the sale of water, from that.
Yeah, we're just looking at an emergency backup. See what we can do with them and what's the best way to
Yeah,
go.
but, from all the tests and stuff, it will probably never be able to use for drinking.
No, we're not looking for drinking water at all, just for backup, emergency. If we had to use it, it's on the back of there, we have a plan ready to go.
That is part of your plan, though, is to maybe utilize that at some point.
If we possibly could, just as emergency to put it in the system, at least, for the worst with the bath, we could use it, and come out as whatever. You just couldn't drink it, and none of that.
Well, like I said, we have all the reports and everything on the water
Yeah.
quality and everything.
Like I said, we just gotta go through the process of finding out, what we would do in an emergency and where we would go.
So those are the only two they're gonna look at?
Well, I don't know. We talked about Blue Boys, I don't know if that's just a long stretch or not. I don't know.
Now, for all the information we've already gotten from Blue Boys, is they said they weren't able to do it.
Well, they ain't gonna do
Blue
it.
Boys said they could.
No, they can do it, they just can't. We'd have to put the pipeline.
Yeah.
That's the expense of it. Like I said, we just need approval to look at all these things, and when we get all together, we'll come back and say, we look at this, and we look at this, and this is where it lies.
You're not giving him an approval to incur any costs, though, are you?
Not,
No.
You know, at one time, this is going back 60 years, and I only know of it just by word of mouth from older people. They were looking at going over to Sanders, over in Laurel Run, for a source of water. Maybe somebody wants to look at that. But you're right next to EQT, or EOG, up on the hill there. You know, if you get Google Maps out and take a look at that, where you go back in from Elliott Park, boy, there's well pads all over the place. But
Franny, you said this Penfield well's already hooked up and piped in and all that
As
stuff?
far as I know, they didn't take nothing away from it on however it was done. The guy that works for the water company said they have to test that every so often, so, yeah.
So it must
The
have
guy
some
said
value
they
to
still test
it
it,
if
so
they're
I don't
testing
know if it's
it.
once a month or something, they have to keep checking it to see if they, so, you know, I mean, if they get in and room with it.
Well, years ago, when they cut that off from us, that was supposed to be,
Unhooked?
Yeah.
it was supposed to be unhooked.
Well, the way he's talking, it's, so, yeah.
Well, at some point, there was a disconnection, it's just where,
Yeah, where is what we
Yeah.
have to find out. And like I said, I just need to approve to go ahead and check this out. There's no sense in not, without the water company's approval, we can't run nothing back through without the water company's approval.
But what you gotta understand is if you go with Penfield, it will basically give water to Penfield and up to like the Forest Church. But there's not enough pressure to get it up into Weedville, so the rest of the township won't have any water. So that's not even, shouldn't even be considered a contingency plan when it only involves
The
Penfield.
only way you could make it operate then would be a booster pump down in the lower part by the forest ball dam or wherever to
What we're
bring it up
thinking-
over the hill, if need be.
Yeah.
What we're
Not
thinking-
enough gallons, Joe.
Not enough gallons?
That would be enough to handle Penfield in an emergency.
But that's not taken into that's not, to me, that wouldn't be a contingency plan, because a contingency plan would be everybody on,
well, it's J Township,
J
it's our
Township.
priority.
right, J Township is, yeah,
Well,
Right.
we're still be looking for J Township.
no, you're not.
Well,
What
whatever.
exactly do you want from us? You want permission to look at the well
I
and the
just need
plant?
your permission to look at these wells and, have the water take a look at these things and the expert and decide which way is the best way to go.
The best, yeah, the best well we have
That's what.
going right now is that one that's already over there, it's gonna be piped into the,
Well, yeah,
water
but if
tank.
that's room two, we, then we have not.
yeah,
Depends on which one.
yeah,
we're
oh,
doing.
yeah, you're right.
That's what we're going by. If they're room, this is what we have to have.
All that source over there is in one,
Yeah, that
Yeah.
source over there is one thing, that's the problem. So we need a source other than that, just for backup.
So if you're gonna have cat the barn, you need to look at who's paying for that. The township?
Township would have to probably pay for that, yes. We have to have that on the backup plan. We have to have a backup for this ordinance.
Okay,
Which way it's gonna go, or which way it's gonna be, till they look at each one that we're talking about, and say what would be the best.
well, since you're the only supervisor that's here, I also have something to ask you. Next month, we're gonna be down one board member, and we do need, you know, you look strongly at anything that you have there.
Well, we're in the same boat on the storage too.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at this meeting, we're down 2, if we're down 3, we won't have a meeting. So I need all the help I can get here to get, you know,
I'm sure there's enough applicants on file already, isn't there, Franny, to join the water authority?
Last night, I don't know that many.
Doesn't have
Keith,
any-
put your name back in. Maria, put your name back in.
Yeah, as long as we have
I'm still in there.
applicants.
okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I put in an open records request for the magnetic flow meter readings up at the water company, for you discharging the wastewater conveyance system. And, you know, I had a couple interests there, but one of them I noticed, I didn't get the full request because I was looking from January 2014 to present. Franny had some numbers down at his house that went from November to the present. But if you look at those numbers, there's an upward trend in the effluent discharged into the wastewater system. Choosing the two endpoints back in November, it was 100 gallons per day average discharge, and here in April, it's 233 gallons a day. So I was wondering if the board had any insight why this trend seems to be increasing month to month from November to April.
And good
Next
to-
day in April was that the pumps were down and
We did have one pump rebuilt.
Dad had to go up and get it running, so it was a full basin, so.
Okay,
And we just had the basin pumped out also.
okay, do you discharge when you pump the basin? Okay. That's, But on the other side, from January to March 31st, January 1st to March 31st, the authority only discharged 16,800 gallons according to the data, which I think is pretty good. I think they have residential customers that probably use more water than that. So,
No, like I said, we had the right people in there at that point and had pretty much control of the pumps and everything, so.
you know, to Keith's point there too, it was 233,000 for April. For the end of March, you had 216,000, which is not that big of a difference. But hey, maybe you could ask him, if you find something out, maybe you could let us know at the next meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
Christine?
I asked Anita to look into Checker Church regarding the number of RTSs they were being charged. Did you have time to look at that, Anita?
For the education building and the cemetery?
Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't sure which one we would do with that. I thought you just wanted because they paid just one readiness to serve. The church pays like the readiness to serve, and then the education building and the cemetery are included in that. They don't pay the readiness to serve.
Say that again?
The church, the education building, and the cemetery are all one. They paid $69 for all three of them. They don't, like, the education building and the cemetery don't pay the readiness to serve. They're included in the readiness to serve for the church.
You told me that you're paying for two. Apparently they
Only one.
They
mixed
pay for
up.
the rectory,
Well, the rectory. yeah. They
the
said-
church, and then the education building and the cemetery are included in the church. And is there one more?
So
The
they're
social
Social
hall?
hall.
The social hall pays the readiness to serve.
So they have two, and that's two residences.
okay, but if I have the correct regulation, do you have your regulation there? They would be paying only one for the church and all the buildings, except the parsonage, of course, that's separate, they do pay that. Maybe I don't have the right regulation.
I think it is just said the parsonage
No,
and
it's
church
not
are
the
combined
one.
with
Church and all
and
the
then the
buildings.
social hall is by itself.
Social hall
Way
by
I
itself,
understand
and,
it.
yeah.
I think that's what she just said. There's two RTSs there.
It'd be on page 7. On the religious. Do you want to read it?
Parsonages will be billed as a regular customer they have been in the past. The other buildings and cemeteries, if any belonging to the church, will pay one readiness to serve. Quarterly charge out will be for all of the buildings and cemeteries, if any. However, the current consumption rate will be charged for each 1,000 gallons of water used in each building and cemetery.
So they should only be paying one RTS for the church and all the buildings,
And one for the,
and one for the parsonage, but they're paying for 3, right?
They pay for the social hall. It's always been like that, though.
Yeah, but according to regulation, that's not how it is now. They didn't ask me to ask you this, but I've been doing some research and I just come across that.
okay. Well, that's all part of what we've been trying to correct over the last 6 months, with the billing, so if that needs to be changed, we'll go ahead and do that.
So, I mean, they don't even know I've asked about this. I wanted to check with you first.
Well, that's good, like I said, we're trying to get everything, online, with the billing.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Are you sure the social hall's paying Anita the readiness to serve? Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because I asked you about it and you said they were paying.
We'll double check
Yeah,
everything.
so I'll check it tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. The church and the education building and the cemetery are all under one, and then the social hall pays one, and the rectory.
Anything, Rick?
Nope, nothing else.
Anybody else? Okay. Approval of the agenda, we're going to add under the new hires a additional backup operator. And do you have anything else you need to add?
Yeah, I guess we better add number 4 to give him over their permission to
Okay.
look at the well. Without any cost to the authority.
That's Penfield, always.
It would be the well on the premises, salt water, as well as the Penfield.
That's been, well, it's been
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Any motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting from April 14, 2015. Any changes, corrections?
I think the board should be commended for their action in, correcting the issues with bar rooms and apartments attached, only paying one EDU. And I think that was a very fair act, what was done there.
Thank you. Okay, motion to approve the regular meeting, April 14, 2015.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
I'll second
all in
it.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion to approve the special meeting of April 8th, 2015. Motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion to approve the minutes of the special meeting of April 29th, 2015. Any changes, corrections?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, treasurer's report. Any questions? Motion to approve the report.
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Approval of the bills, any questions?
Did that go through Henry's cell phone? His Verizon bill? You can just
Yeah.
put things up there?
That was our, yeah, it says their final
This is the
bill.
final.
That was
there,
the
so-
final bill, in April, but I actually got, because I canceled it like
The
mid-cycle,
new plan
so.
got that.
We got a refund from them, I got the check, Thursday for $31 and some cents. We got back from that, so, yeah, that's it, for that, that won't be on there no more after this month.
Well, it's gonna be split. Won't it
No.
be?
No, it'd just be one.
This
check
bill
to
here
him.
was paid in April, $111.27, and then I canceled it and I got back $31 and some change for this, so this is it for Verizon.
That was the final. What you'll see on here is a reimbursement next month. For the cell phone.
Yeah, it'll be in the treasurer's report next month as a reimbursement.
Right up in here.
Mhm.
Also at the top of this, it should say April, not March bills. I do that all the time.
Okay, need motion to approve the bills.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Yeah.
Aye, opposed? Okay, no reimbursements for April for the consent order. Correspondence?
Tom Wagner, email regarding payroll adventures. Brian Babb, EPT Ginger Well Pad permit approvals. Bob Popolo, Ginger Pad, a view from the top. Cambria Systems, current certificate of liability insurance. Rachel Schiffler, SRPC, comprehensive metering plan approval, and Ellen Employer, failure to monitor violation.
On that, what I was gonna ask you to do is go back to the analytical, their bills, to see if anything was mentioned specifically. You know, the first quarter. If they billed us for that, then they have to pay for it. You know, at some point. before we-
That number that they submitted right there should have some reference right to what took place there.
Mhm. Okay, delinquencies?
No, the new bills went out at the beginning of April, so, late charges and shut-off notices. I was waiting to send the shut-off notices for the new secretary so I can show her what to do, so those will go out this week.
Okay.
How many do we have?
As of today, there was 110.
Shut off notices? That's an awful number here. Doesn't sound like the president's plan to turn this country around is working.
How many delinquencies were there that you got paid for before you send out the shut-off notices?
I didn't send the shut-off notices yet.
Right.
They usually go out on the 10th, but I said I was waiting so I can.
How many late notices did you send out?
We don't do late notices anymore. We changed that.
Oh,
Over a
so
year.
you just
half it
send
up.
out shut-off notices?
Send out shut-off notices, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we decided not to incur the additional costs.
Yeah, it was just costing too much money to send out, 300 late notices every quarter and,
Okay, maintenance report. John, Dennis.
Did they get a new gauge for the president tank?
I don't know.
Do you remember
Yeah.
ordering parts or whatever it needed?
I don't know, Henry didn't say anything.
Was that gauge replaced when they did the PLC upgrade or no?
I'll ask Henry.
Because the device there is a clean plant, I recall we totally emptied it, topped out. It sent you a pulse signal that went from 0 to 500 pulses a second or something like that. Nobody knows if they.
It's probably a computerized problem at the tank.
Well, it's a
Henry's got
transducer
it.
problem. They had transducer problem before. I remember one time got hit with lightning and they had to change analog to pulse converter. But I don't know if that was upgraded when you did the PLC.
I think when they do repair it, they should repair it with something inexpensive in case it gets hit with lightning again or something that's more reliable. Not as
Well,
electronic sensitive to the magnetism in the air or whatever's going on with it.
You know, water systems are probably pretty good grounds.
Yeah, I don't see where they put any repair or anything in on their report for that, so. I'll check
We need to
with,
know the last time.
yeah, I'll check with them tomorrow. You can let me know. Okay, operator's report. Any questions that we can answer?
None at the moment.
No? Okay. Engineer's report, just received. I see the 27th, they submitted information to the SRBC for that report. Okay, old business, status of consent order. We did get our permit for the media. We do have bids that will be going out this week. The bid package has been completed, obviously. It'll be picked up or can be downloaded from the each group. And our turnaround time is the 26th of May for the opening of the bids. We'll be scheduling a meeting for that day. And then from there, we have in the bid package a 90-day completion as part of the bid. As far as the project up at the well, I think we've come to terms with the landowner and we should be able to proceed with that shortly and get that finished up. Is that correct, Brian?
I haven't heard.
Yeah, neither have we, anything formal back and forth.
No,
I've been waiting.
I talked to my attorney yesterday and he had not heard from Tom as of yesterday.
As far as we're concerned, we had come to an agreement as of last week. I was just waiting for something in writing for us both to sign and move on with it. So I'll check with Tom, if you can check with your attorney to see where they're at, so we can move. And then once that paper's signed, can we proceed?
Yeah, the only thing I ask is, I still want to see where that building is gonna go, and as long as it's going where Eric Johnson showed me, I'm happy.
It's exactly where he showed you, because that's part of that map that we did, you know, with the engineers and stuff, to his specifications.
Okay, I haven't seen anything back from Wagner yet, though.
Right. Well, like I said, as soon as we get that, I'd like to, you know, get moving on it. We are on a deadline.
Did you consider for 7,500 that you were talking about?
No, we did not.
I know you were talking about 7,500.
No, it has come to the board in our best interest to move on the project and not get to a point where we'll get fined for any excess time that we need to, complete the project, so.
Did you get a change order when you changed the direction of the line from DEP?
Didn't need to, it wasn't off, it wasn't off.
They didn't have to recalculate that line?
Because the plans were resubmitted once we had the survey redone. And they're all on board. I talked to Lisa 2 weeks ago with it, and she just wanted to know where we're at because of the stop work order. And I gave her the specifics, and she asked for the map, which she got, and there was no change.
Because I know when you make a change like that, you should have a change order, especially if you.
Yeah, it was within 15 feet of where the original line was gonna come up, so.
And they approved it.
Okay, we're gonna break for a brief executive session, the new hires. Okay, we made some decisions on our new hires. First one, we're gonna hire Margaret Russell as our new secretary, effective tomorrow. A rate of pay of $10 an hour and a reimbursement for her healthcare insurance, Cobra 423.38. So I'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion.
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, general labor. We're going to hire Tyler Miles at a rate of $12 as a full-time employee with all the other, as written in our maintenance employee package, providing insurance after 90 days, 6-month review.
Right.
Need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And also, we're going to add an additional backup operator, CJ Miles, at $26 an hour. No reimbursement for travel or additional time except for in the plan. As a fill-in for Dennis Beck, so Dennis is not there 7 days a week. So I need a motion for CJ.
Motion.
No second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, Anita has been so kind to let us know she would come back to help the Margaret for our quarterly billing and taxes at her current rate of pay, plus mileage. So I need a motion,
I'll make the motion.
and I'll second it.
No abstain.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone abstain? Okay. J Township Supervisor Source Water Protection Ordinance. I did get a chance to get a brief look at it. And this also encompasses what you want to do, Franny,
Yeah.
for that. So I'm gonna, is this gonna be an additional, you said, amendment to that?
Yeah. After that is passed and gone, we're gonna attach this to the back of it, because anytime we wanna change it, we don't have to change the whole ordinance. If somebody down the road wants to change it, finds a better backup, they can make it out, clamp it to the back. You understand what I mean? You don't have to change the whole ordinance just to do that. It's just that you go back there and see where you need water, what's happening, what you can do.
Jeremy came to the office this morning and he told me that that's gonna be put out for public comment at the township meeting next week or whenever it is. And then it's gonna be passed as is at the June township meeting. And the only thing that he wanted was the emergency response plan. He wanted that adjusted to say we could get water buffaloes or bottled water, whatever. And I told him that I could adjust that
Yeah.
plan and he's gonna patch it. That's all he asked for. He said he didn't need anything else from the authority.
We're just doing the rest of the checking. for extra water.
Now, just to make it clear, this is strictly for you to check out our salt well that is
So
behind
well,
the,
Phil, to see if we could use them at any time in emergency and what we have to go through and use them.
and are you gonna make us aware of your,
Yeah, yes. We'll tell you what it would take or what we have to do to do any of this, you know what I mean?
because as the authority, we would like to review that before it gets attached to the ordinance at this point.
Yeah.
We really haven't
Check out
had-
Du Bois, we might check out Du Bois, see what it would cost for interconnection if we had to.
We really haven't had a lot of communication, or really any communication with that, with your meetings and the authority. And from here on out, I'd like to stay a little more on top of it. The only thing, you know, that's come to me is the protection of our customers here in Jay Township. And if this does happen, where the, you know, water's contaminated to a point, I don't see where there's any protection for the residents of the community at all. We're more worried about, you know, the water and getting water in, but what happens, you know, from there?
Well, that's why we're gonna see the Du Bois, what it would cost, you know what I mean, to do this. So, but EQT, we're still fighting to get that plan with them. Because they were supposed to sit down with us and make a plan before they ever got the permits, and that didn't happen.
Well, they already have the permits, they're, eventually we'll start work up there. And like I said, for protection of the community, I'd like to see something, you know, brought to EQT or anyone else that's drilling up there, some kind of a bond or whatever for the community. You know, there's a lot of businesses down here, there's a lot of, you know, homesteads that have been here for years and years that are family owned. And if we do get a discharge where the water, you know, can shut this town down, make it a ghost town, these residents need to be protected individually. I'm not as much worried about the water as I am the community.
Well, the water's,
And the only protection is to have something set up, you know,
That's what we-
before all this comes.
that's what we've been trying to do with EQT. You can ask Joe there, we've been fighting back and forth this. We even got the letter from DEP that they're not gonna give them the permits till they sit down with us until we have that plan. But what happened? They gave them the permits and now we're back fighting with them to sit back at the table.
Yeah, that was my idea in the beginning, to have them bond X amount of dollars, whatever. And,
You know, I hate to put it in these terms, but as a township, we may want to hire someone to go out and do appraisals, you know, for this area, you know, personal homes and businesses, to get some kind of value, you know, so we know what we're talking about. And a realistic value, why things are up and running and not shut down and abandoned, where things can't be resold, you know. And this, just like this backup water plan, it's, hopefully it'll never be utilized, but we have to be prepared.
We just don't know.
I mean, as a community, we have to be prepared for worst-case scenario, and that really is.
I like Bob's study too, with the rate on gas and so forth, too. That was a good study you did there on that.
Well, that was John Hopkins, I didn't do it.
Well, you brought it too, so I
Yeah.
put it that way.
Franny, when is the next, resource meeting?
Should be next Tuesday, next Wednesday.
Jeremy said no, because it was
Election
election
day.
day.
Okay, then it would be the following Tuesday. I'll make sure that if people get phone calls, if we make for next Tuesday, I'll have to talk to them, I don't know. Right now.
Yeah, we'll put it
We generally
in.
have 2 a month, second Tuesday and skip Tuesday and then we have it the next time.
Yeah, but what did you say, when, does he want to advertise this?
Jeremy said he's gonna put it out for public comment at this month's meeting, this month's township meeting, and then approve it at next month's meeting.
That would just be the ordinance, you know. But this stuff we're still be working on, the plans.
I
So,
hope
yeah,
everything goes well and we don't have any water system
I'm
damage.
not here, but I hope we get EQT to come here and put something.
They always like to skirt around that
Oh, yeah.
question because they know it can happen.
So we're gonna get them at the next meeting?
What's that,
The
EQT?
QT, talk
I'm
about
sure
these
hoping-
things?
I'm sure hoping they're here to every meeting we go.
No,
Can
not
the lawyer
hoping.
send them a letter requesting to be here?
We request them to be here all the time. Johnny, they are here. I think they missed one meeting. If I'm not mistaken, they've been here every meeting about one.
Well, like I said, you know, to move forward to this, I'd like to see, you know, some kind of protection for the community besides just the water. Like I said, there's too many,
The bond issue with the values
yes.
is a big thing now. Right, you know, we talked about bond issues with disablement of the treatment plant and so
Well,
forth.
that's all
It
they
was
sent to the attorney.
Past meetings, that Marty has another good idea with the valuations of the
That's why we just
businesses.
sent the letter back to the attorney on Friday. We had a special meeting to okay the attorney to argue that point that we we're just talking about. The EQT has to sit down and help us with this plan.
They don't like to talk about
They
it.
don't like to talk about it,
You know,
but we
because
have to get it done.
again, worst case scenario is not just the people in the water systems, a lot of people are still on wells in this area also, and it'll affect everyone,
Everybody.
you know, so it would be in our best interest to, you know, set ourselves up for protection. Now, if they're so sure that they don't have accidents and these things can't happen, they shouldn't be opposed, you know, to doing that. You know, everything that we hear, they never have accidents and nothing ever happens, so.
Yeah, that's not true.
But before it does, you know,
That's a-
protection for us is really the ultimate goal.
Like I said, we're trying to get the EQT to try to do anything. We have to push and push. And ask Joe, we've been pushing and pushing. And so now it's down to the attorney style, so that's all.
To my knowledge, there hasn't been anything like that before presented to them, you know, before drilling has
Well,
started.
you weren't
so-
allowed. You weren't allowed with the chapter Act 13, you weren't allowed to before. Then just the last year or so when you changed it, now you're allowed to make ordinances against it.
No, like I said, it's
I
not,
think-
it's not the ordinance as much as it is protection.
Now,
I think the township supervisor should probably look into that bond issue and get something in writing on that,
well, like I said, they're supposed to.
on
come
an
to the table.
evaluation, you know.
We're pushing them to come to the table and try to make the plan.
But Josie isn't gonna be able
No, she's not.
to say anything, and it's just gonna be a waste of time. Is there a way to maybe talk to her or someone and give them an idea of, like, for example, one thing we're thinking of is a bond? Can she go to her superior and get some feedback before she comes to the meeting?
She's
I
been
talked-
trying.
Good.
But couldn't you call her?
Well,
And,
Jeremy said that he was going to ask about the radon. I mean, he must have some kind of contact there.
I think she's been in enough meetings, she knows what, EQT knows what we want, but they're not coming forward with anything.
You know, if you consider what Dave Porges said in 2012 down in Charleston, and the water committee sent him a letter that got passed on to Josie Schultz. Now, nobody will respond to that, you know, avoidance of environmentally sensitive areas. And I don't know, I may be wrong, but I think it's somewhat of a pipe dream here that they're gonna agree to anything that they aren't forced to agree to by law. But I might be wrong. I mean,
Well, it's
the
just like
starting point is.
it's
have
just like
an
the Act
answer,
13 monies though.
Porges' statements.
They're filtering down through the communities, but it's not getting to the individuals, and they're the ones that are the most at risk. I mean, this has been a big problem. $2 million in Elk County, you know, in the last 2 years, and the people that ultimately are gonna pay, you know, make the sacrifice have seen none of it to their individual benefits, you know, that I can see. And those are things that we have to look at, you know, in the future.
I mean, if you look at our community, I mean, the money train stops here regularly, whether it's Talking Fish, an outdoor classroom, a sign for the senior center. Well, how about some money to do a radon study? or a hydrogeologic study.
Well, the radon is definitely a problem because we did have a radon call a few weeks ago to a home, correct? Right, the firemen responded to that?
No, that was probably a CO.
That was a CO.
A few meetings back, I talked to Josie Schultz there, and I asked her if she could have some of the test results brought back to the meeting on what comes out of the well after they do their fracking or whatever they do. And she said that they let you know what they put down in, but I said, I don't want to know what you put in, I want to know what comes back out.
Yeah, you never get a straight answer.
Well, she never brought nothing back to any of the meetings either. It was like,
Josie's just the middle person. When she
yeah, but
just
she can
goes back and
turn the
forth. You
question
gotta get
into
somebody
the
off
other
her
guys.
head.
She's not even in the
She
middle.
can turn the
Yeah,
question
she's
into
not.
the other
She's
guys.
a spokesman or a liaison, whatever you want to put it.
Right.
And she's a filter.
Yeah, exactly.
Going back to the ordinance, so my question is on the administration side of it. Is there anyone that's actually appointed or will be appointed as an administrator? I know it says coordination between the township and the water authority, but is there anything specific that you guys are looking at?
What do you mean, as if something happens?
Right, like who's gonna be their go-to?
Each group is our go-to person. If something happens, they go in and check it out, tell us what we should do. We already voted on that last meeting.
Okay,
That's, each group will be our, go-to person if we think something happened.
Did anybody ask for their credentials and understanding of drilling Marcellus, horizontal wells? Do they have anybody on staff with expertise in this area that might have some insight? Just because they're an engineering firm.
or maybe we should ask them that.
That's on
Yeah,
you.
Before we
I think you
appoint
should
them,
get
right?
out there
If any of
and-
these guys have any,
Yeah, what
experience
is their
with this stuff, you know,
depth of
these-
expertise in matters of this nature? And, DEP, certainly if there's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, because if they're not considered experts in that, they're not gonna respond to anything they do.
Well, if it goes to trial and they're disqualified as expert witnesses, wasted all their money.
Well, they were asked that, and they said yes,
Yeah,
but
they
they also,
You didn't see the qualifications, they just told us they had them.
And that's the other thing I'm gonna ask, Franny, if you can take that and figure out, the best.
Yeah, we're working on, like I said, to get anything out of them, we have to fight and fight to get it out of them, I know that. And that's gonna be a continuous operation to get something out of it.
Right, if they can't answer all the questions that are gonna be needed for this, maybe we need to look at a different, administrator, if you wanna call it that, okay? Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
No, we can do the, for him to look at the well.
Okay,
I'll make a motion for contact bar, someone from the Eads only to look at the well, the salt well plant. No cost to the authority and at the convenience of John Grohl. Appointment to be made. So that not everybody's in there poking around and
okay. Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor? Aye.
Like I said, Phil and connect with Du Bois or something if we had to. We're all bringing it back to the table if we figure things out. They said we have to send in to see what the best thing is to do.
Okay. You
I'll
good?
make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor?